Welcome back. Another day, another bunch of historical idiots who thought they were geniuses. I'm here because I have nothing better to do, and you're here to feel better about your own life choices by looking at theirs. Let's get into today's disaster.
History is full of people who get nicknames they don't deserve. Richard the Lionheart was barely in England. Ivan the Terrible was actually... well, no, he earned that one. But then we have Herod, known to history as Herod the Great. Great is a strong word. It implies majesty, benevolence, maybe a really good PR team. And to be fair, if you look at the skyline of ancient Judea, Herod earned the title. He was the Steve Jobs of the ancient world, if Steve Jobs solved all his HR disputes by executing his family members. Herod is the ultimate historical paradox. On one hand, he was a genius administrator and the greatest builder the Holy Land had ever seen. He turned deserts into cities and mountains into palaces. On the other hand, he was a paranoia-fueled nightmare who turned the royal court of Jerusalem into a slaughterhouse that makes Game of Thrones look like an episode of Peppa Pig. Most of you probably know him as the villain from The Christmas Story, the guy who heard a new king was born in Bethlehem and decided to hit the delete all button on the local toddler population. Whether that specific event happened is debated by historians, but the fact that everyone at the time believed he would do it tells you everything you need to know about the vibe in Herod's kingdom. For 33 years, he ruled Judea with an iron fist, a brilliant mind, and a complete lack of chill. He was a man who desperately wanted to be loved, yet did everything in his power to ensure he was hated. He bought the people a shiny new temple, and they thanked him by spitting on his shadow. So how did an outsider from the desert maneuver his way onto the throne, survive the chaos of the Roman civil wars, build architectural wonders that defied physics, and ultimately die rotting from the inside out while plotting one final act of spite? Welcome to the life of Herod. He put the great in greatly disturbed. To understand Herod, you have to understand that he was playing the game on hard mode from day one. He wasn't fully Jewish. He was an Idumean, an outsider. To the religious elite in Jerusalem, he was a half-breed pretender. To the Romans, he was a useful barbarian wallet. Herod realized early on that the only way to survive was to attach himself to the biggest bully on the playground, Rome. But the problem with Rome in the 1st century BC was that the biggest bully changed every 20 minutes. First, his father sucked up to Julius Caesar. Good move. Then Caesar got stabbed 23 times. Bad move. Then Herod had to pivot to Cassius, one of Caesar's murderers. Then Mark Antony and Octavian defeated the murderers, and Herod had to explain why he was hanging out with the guys who killed their dad. Herod managed to charm Mark Antony. They became bros. Herod sent money, Herod sent troops. Herod basically managed Antony's Judean fan club. But then Antony started spending too much time in Egypt with Cleopatra, and things went south, literally and metaphorically. Then came the Battle of Actium. Octavian, the future Emperor Augustus, crushed Antony and Cleopatra. Herod was now in a terrible position. He had spent years financing the loser. In the ancient world, you didn't usually get a severance package when you backed the wrong horse. You got a sword through the neck. But this is where Herod's true superpower kicked in. Shameless, high-stakes groveling.
Herod sailed to Rhodes to meet Octavian. He didn't hide. He didn't make excuses. He walked into the room, took off his crown, and laid it on the table. He looked Octavian in the eye and said, essentially, "Look, I was loyal to Antony. I was a great friend to him. Imagine how good of a friend I could be to you." It was the political equivalent of, "I'm not cheating on you, baby. I'm just extremely loyal to whoever is currently wearing the pants." And it worked. Octavian, who was a cold, calculating pragmatist, looked at Herod and saw a man who could get things done. He didn't just give Herod his crown back, he gave him more land. Herod walked in a defeated enemy and walked out the king of a larger Judea. He was the ultimate survivor, a political cockroach in royal purple.
With his throne secure and Roman sugar daddies paying the bills, Herod turned to his favorite hobby, playing SimCity in real life. But Herod didn't just want to build, he wanted to dominate nature itself. He had an ego the size of the pyramids and a budget to match. His first problem was that his subjects, the Jews, hated him. They saw him as a Roman puppet. So Herod decided to buy their love. He launched the renovation of the Second Temple in Jerusalem. And folks, this wasn't just a fresh coat of paint. He turned the Temple Mount into the largest religious complex in the ancient world. He used stones that weighed hundreds of tons. He used so much gold that the Talmud says whoever hadn't seen Herod's building hadn't seen beauty in their life. Did it make the Jews like him? No. But it sure looked pretty while they were plotting his demise. But the temple was just the appetizer. Herod wanted a legacy that the Romans would respect. He looked at a stretch of coastline that had no natural harbor, strong currents, and terrible wind, and said, "Build me a superport right there." Engineers told him, "Sir, the ocean usually decides where the harbors go." Herod replied, "I am the ocean." This was Caesarea Maritima. He imported volcanic ash from Italy to create hydraulic concrete that hardened underwater. He built a massive breakwater out into the open sea. He built a hippodrome, a theater, and a palace with a swimming pool that jutted out into the Mediterranean. He basically built Dubai 2,000 years before Dubai was a thing. Then there were the fortresses, Herodium, Machaerus, and the famous Masada. Masada wasn't just a fort, it was a panic room for a billionaire. Located on top of an unclimbable rock in the middle of the scorching desert, Herod built a 3-tiered palace hanging off the cliffside. He had bathhouses with heated floors, mosaic floors, and massive cisterns to catch rain so he could have a swimming pool in a place where people died of thirst. Why? Because Herod was terrified. He knew that one day the mob might come for him, or Cleopatra might want his land, or his own kids might try to stab him. These weren't just buildings, they were monuments to his anxiety. Every brick was laid with mortar and paranoia. While Herod was conquering nature outside, inside the palace, he was losing his mind. You see, Herod had a very complicated family life. He had 10 wives. 10. That's not a marriage, that's a management crisis. But the only one he truly loved was Mariamne. She was a Hasmonean princess, actual royalty. This gave Herod legitimacy, but it also made him incredibly insecure. He was obsessed with her. But his sister, Salome, not the one with the head on the platter, a different troublemaker, hated Mariamne. Salome whispered poison in Herod's ear. "She's cheating on you. She thinks you're ugly. She's plotting to kill you." And Herod, being the rational, calm leader he was, executed the love of his life. He killed Mariamne. Then he realized he made a mistake and spent months wandering the palace screaming her name. It was tragic, in a "you literally ordered her execution" kind of way. But he didn't stop there. He felt threatened by Mariamne's popular younger brother, the high priest Aristobulus. So Herod invited him to a pool party in Jericho. They were playing a game of hold your breath underwater. Herod's soldiers helped Aristobulus hold his breath permanently. Herod cried at the funeral. He was a great actor. As Herod got older, the SimCity addiction was replaced by Among Us. He became convinced his own sons were plotting against him. To be fair, they probably were, because he was a lunatic. He had his 2 sons with Mariamne, Alexander and Aristobulus, strangled. Then, just 5 days before his own death, he ordered the execution of his eldest son, Antipater. This family annihilation was so famous that Emperor Augustus in Rome supposedly made a joke about it. He said, "It is better to be Herod's pig than his son." Since Herod didn't eat pork, the pig was safe. The kids? Not so much.
By 4 BC, Herod was 70 years old, and his body finally decided to pay him back for a lifetime of stress and evil. And folks, he didn't die peacefully in his sleep. The ancient historian Josephus describes Herod's final illness with a level of detail that is frankly disgusting. He had convulsions, foul breath, a fire in his belly, and something called gangrene of Fournier. I'm not going to Google that for you, but let's just say his private parts were rotting while still attached to his body, and there were worms. It was as if biology itself was trying to evict his soul.
Even on his deathbed, rotten alive, Herod was thinking about his ego. He knew that when he died, the Jews would throw a massive party. He couldn't handle the thought of people celebrating his death. So he came up with one last diabolical plan. He arrested all the beloved nobles and community leaders from across Judea and locked them in the Hippodrome in Jericho. He gave his sister Salome an order: "The moment I die, kill them all." Why? So that every family in Judea would be weeping on the day of his death. He didn't care if they were crying for him, as long as they were crying.
Thankfully, his sister Salome had a rare moment of sanity. When Herod finally breathed his last ragged breath, she released the prisoners. Judea didn't mourn, they cheered. Herod the Great died as he lived, successful, feared, and completely alone. He left behind a kingdom full of architectural wonders that still stand today. The Western Wall? That's Herod. The fortress of Masada? That's Herod. He was a visionary builder who paved Judea with marble and gold, but he cemented it with blood. He is the ultimate reminder that you can gain the whole world, build the biggest towers, the greatest ports, and the strongest forts, and still end up as nothing more than a rotting man who everyone wishes would just hurry up and die. Thanks for watching History's Hall of Shame. If you enjoyed watching a man's family tree turn into a family stump, hit that like button. Subscribe for more tyrants, and let us know in the comments, would you rather be Herod's architect or his son? Choose the architect, trust me.